Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Well, happy Veterans Day. This is Ron Archer sitting in for Steve Arterburn, and I'm with Chris Williams and Becky Brown, and I love Veterans Day.
Do tell, Ron. Tell us why.
Well, you know, I work with the Joint Chiefs of Staff and all of that, but my son is in the Air Force and his wife, and they were in Okinawa, and he's in cyber intelligence, and I just love men and women who are willing to sacrifice their lives, their families, for the greater good of society. And so when I speak to Veterans Group and I speak to different parts of the armed services, one of my favorite poems written by a veteran is called The Final Inspection. Can I share it with you for a moment?
Please do.
Is that okay? It says, "The soldier stood and faced God, which must always come to pass. He hoped his shoes were shining just as brightly as his brass. Step forward now, you soldier. How shall I deal with you? Have you always turned the other cheek? To my church have you been true?" The soldier squared his shoulders and said, "No, Lord, I guess I ain't, because those of us who carry guns can't always be a saint. I've had to work most Sundays, and at times my talk was tough, and sometimes I've been violent, because the world is awfully rough. But I never took a penny that wasn't mine to keep, though I worked a lot of overtime when the bills got too steep. I never passed a cry for help, though at times I shook with fear. And sometimes, God forgive me, I wept unmanly tears. I know I don't deserve a place among the people here. They never wanted me around except to calm their fears. If you have a place for me here, O Lord, it need not be so grand. I never expected or had too much. But if you don't, I'll understand." There was silence all around the throne, where the saints had often trod, and the soldier waited quietly for the judgment of his God. Step forward now, you soldier. You've borne your burdens well. Come walk peacefully on heaven's streets. You've done your time in hell. What are your thoughts about veterans?
Powerful. I just want to say thank you to all the veterans that have served over the years and for their willingness. I live in an area where it's a big military town and Air Force town.
Yes.
And so we're just, so proud of the sacrifice that they make, and it makes a difference in the world. And so this day can't go by without a thank you to our veterans and all the ways that they serve. Chris, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, the Veterans Day is a day I always called my dad, and we had a conversation because he was a veteran, and I lost him this past year, and we had a conversation towards the end of his time with us, and where he finally opened up about his experiences in Vietnam. And, as the saying goes, you can get the soldier out of Vietnam, but it's hard to get the Vietnam out of the soldier. Or you can get them off the war field, but they carry it with them. And so my dad is an example of that. Yes. And he carried those scars and wounds, and they unfortunately acted themselves out in some destructive ways over time. But it doesn't take away the fact that, there's sacrifice, that there is service, and that our men and women of our armed forces really do deserve our best and really do deserve our honor and deserve for, especially those of us who live and work in the mental health field, they deserve our best service. And so I'm going to keep fighting for them.
There you go. And we say Semper Fidelis, always faithful. We're taking your calls on this wonderful Veterans Day. Hug a veteran, call a veteran, serve a veteran, because he served you. And we can share that love and that respect with those who gave it all. And we thank God for their service.
After I found the pornography on the internet, I said, you either get help or I had to leave this household.
Every day, thousands of women discover their husband is struggling with sexual integrity. And since shelter-in-place orders have gone into effect, traffic to porn sites has skyrocketed. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
I believed that I could do it on my own. I just believed if I tried hard enough and pulled myself up hard enough by my bootstraps, I could do it. It was a battle that I'd had all my life. I had to get help.
The Every Man's Battle workshop can be a trip to the sexual addiction emergency room. During this time of social distancing, the Every Man's Battle workshop will be held online Saturday, November 7th. Find sexual integrity, accountability, and connection. Register now to reserve a place at the Every Man's Battle online workshop. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
The single most helpful thing was to realize that I wasn't the weirdest guy on the planet.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEWLIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Well, this is Ron Archer sitting in for Steve Alderburn, and we're taking your calls on this wonderful Veterans Day. And we have Maria from D.C. and WAVA. Hi, how can we help you, Maria?
Yes, thank you for taking my call. It's more like I'm looking like for an advice. So I have been married for 24 years. I met my husband in 1996, and so he's older than me. Like we are like 19 years apart. But the problem that we always had is like he has a drinking issue. And so he keep making promises that he's going to stop and he's going to stop. And, well, he slows down, but then he starts drinking more and more again. So that has been like so many times already. So I have a 21-year-old son and my daughter's 16. So we were just talking, and we decided that like to just me leave the house, they staying home. So he drinks like mostly on the weekends, here and there weekdays, but some days he drinks a lot. I mean,
Okay,
to a point like getting...
Can I ask a question, Maria? You said that you have two kids. How old are they?
My son is 21. It's going to be 21, and my daughter is going to be 17 soon.
Okay, so, and your husband is dealing with alcoholism, or not dealing with alcoholism?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, and what is your question?
Uh-huh.
What
So
you were wondering if you should leave, or you guys came up with that idea that you should leave?
No, my question is like, I already have like a hotel reservation, so I reserve a room in a hotel close by to my house, like for a week. Because my husband doesn't think like he needs help, and we keep telling him that after all these years he needs like a detox and
Right.
counseling and all of that.
Well, so here's the challenge. Here's the challenge, though, Maria.
Mm-hmm.
If you leave, nothing's going to change for him. You know, that's always the challenge. When we put a boundary up, the boundary can't be something just to perpetuate what the problem is. Have you tried counseling with him or anything like that? Or is it just kind of these conversations where, honey, you need to stop drinking? Like what's the dynamic like within the relationship?
Yeah. Well, he doesn't believe on counseling. He doesn't.
Okay.
Like he doesn't even like psychology, like trying to find help with it, psychology, therapy, things like that. He said one day I'm just going to stop. But it's just been 24 years already, and it's just depressing, you know, like just the same routine every weekend.
I think that there are some steps that you could take before you leave. I'm a little concerned about you leaving him in the house with the other two. Have you done any work yourself? Like any, whether you go to an Al-Anon meeting or go to a counselor, have you done any of that kind of personal work?
No, not yet.
Okay, well, that might be better than going to a hotel for a week. Unless you're going to a spa, and I
Okay.
completely understand going to the spa, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
there's a couple of steps that I would like for you to take, Maria, before you do this drastic separation, because you need some more. You need some more understanding about what is happening to your husband as far as the alcoholism is concerned, and the dynamic that's taking place in your family. Chris, what would you like to add to that?
Well, Maria, I just want you to hear Becky loud and clear, because the first principle of addiction is powerlessness. And so your husband has proven to himself and you that as many promises as he makes, and I do believe that he's genuine in making those promises, but addiction is not a respecter of promises at all, right? So it blows right through that. And so if he's powerless, how much more powerless are you? Now, what you're saying is, yes, so because I'm powerless, I'm out of the house, but I'm going to leave my children there. What Becky is saying is, like, get into your own work. Get your power back. Understand the nature of alcoholism. Understand this. My guess is that he probably grew up with some alcoholics in his own life. My guess is you probably did too.
Yep, I did.
Okay, so it's time to get in. It's time to get into the work to understand really what's going on here. Al-Anon, as Becky was saying, I just want to reinforce that, and getting into your own work. We have counselors there in the Washington D.C. area that deal with addiction really well.
And we also have our life recovery groups that are everywhere that can teach you about the process of getting into recovery. So, Maria, it's interesting to me that you had this experience within family members of your own, and it's kind of like you all are just trying to figure out what's gonna happen. And I don't mean to be too harsh, but literally, it's magical thinking to think that you're going to go away for a week and then something is going to be different. I don't think that's the way it's going to work. I wish it would. I mean, it would be great to have that power, but the powerlessness is where your power really is to understand what I can and cannot do, what needs to take place, and to get real clarity on how your family is being impacted. We're going to send you a copy of the Life Recovery Bible, and I think that will be helpful to you. But I would also, if you stay on, we'll get you connected with a counselor in the area that can specifically help you understand what this dynamic of alcoholism is and what it's doing to you and to your family. And I think it's going to make the biggest difference in everything that you're doing.
Very good. I know my father was an alcoholic. He was a lawyer, and it is a journey. It is a process, and there's going to be successes and failures and setbacks, but you walk with it and you continue on and you work on your issues that you can deal with to strengthen yourself and to be that loving, supporting partner as they become more connected to their own issues.
Okay, we're going to go to our next call.
Well, we have Mary in Dallas and listening on us at KWRD. Mary, how can we help you today?
Hi, thank you for calling thank you for taking my call. Sorry.
Yes.
I have a question. I have a 13-year-old daughter who is probably going through some misleading, like, sexual orientation. She's 13. And a few months ago, she told me that she wanted to come out of the closet. She says, "Mom, I feel like I like boys, but I like girls too." And I have an issue with that because we're Christian and we've been raising our both kids, with good Christian values. But I also want to be able to help her and not shut her down. She's only 13. I think I told her, our values, that God made a man and a woman to be together, and she felt disappointed that I said that. She told me that I should be more accepting, and I've been trying to kind of help her in a way. She also wants to dress up dress more boyish. She wants to be able to cut her hair very, very short and dress like a boy. And I said no. I'm not doing that.
Mary, is she your first daughter? Like, is she the oldest?
She's my second daughter.
Okay. And where, like, as far as age difference between the oldest and the next?
Sorry. Well, my son is 15 and she's 13.
Okay.
So that's 2 years apart.
Okay. Is she pretty close with her brother?
You know, they are. Even though they fight a lot, they are, because when I took my son for a walk and I felt like I needed to share this with him, he told me, Mom, she told me a few months ago of her thoughts. Mm-hmm. And, you know, she told him exactly how I responded. Mm-hmm. She said, I think you're too young right now. I think you just need to know your body a little bit more and pray about it.
Well, that's good advice.
I was proud of him. I was proud of him for him to say that to his sister.
Mm-hmm. Is your husband
taking it day by day?
Is your husband in the home?
He is. He's with us. We've been married for 16 years. His reaction was, you know, maybe she's bored with all this COVID and isolation, homeschooling. Maybe she's bored, and I said no. That's.
Well, Mary, what's his?
Says that, you know, I'm gay, just because they're bored.
Yes, I would agree with that. What's your husband's relationship like with her? Are they close? Does she talk to him about this?
They're close, but ever since she talked to me about it, I feel like she's been very secluded in her room. Mm-hmm. You know, and I've tried to, like, very slowly gain her trust and bring her, like, out so she could spend more time. We can all spend more time together. It's been hard because my mind just goes through so many things. She has told me that one of her friends from school told her that she's gay. Mm-hmm. And so I and I've asked her this. I said, well, is she pressuring you to, dress like this or act like this?
Mary, can I jump in real quickly? Mary, let me jump in. So everything that you're addressing right now, I call the superficials, right? It's all the externals, like, you know, we're trying to find a reason, like bored, and you know, even when we do this right and wrong. Now we understand right and wrong, but what that does is it creates a split in her, meaning my thoughts are wrong, my feelings are wrong, what I want to do, what I want to say is all wrong. So if she feels like she's wrong in all of that, she is going to naturally shut down, to be real honest. And so you're doing the right thing of, like, how do I open up? But this is going to sound strange for a moment. I bet she has no question in her mind what you believe about her sexuality, or what you believe about her coming out as gay. So she's clear on how you believe about that. What I would love for you to try to do is get into her internal world. What are her thoughts? What are her feelings? You know, is she carrying any pain? Has something happened to her? Is she or in fears? Because relationship, and especially when we start waking up sexually, we are driven towards that which feels most safe and comfortable or most familiar. And that is something that happens deep down in us, and we have to get down into that level of, like, what feels emotionally safe, what feels relationally safe. And oftentimes we can find the place where things went unsafe. Men are unsafe, you know, or women are safe. And so I want to encourage you to just kind of open up the internal worlds about, again, thoughts and emotions and feelings and relationships and again, hopes and fears. We start opening up those conversations, it reveals a lot more about what's going on underneath the surface. Because if this is all about right and wrong sexually, she's going to hide, duck, dodge, and then act out.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
I don't want her to do that.
I wanted to say too, Mary, I think you're doing a great job, though.
Yeah.
Because the fact that you can continue to have the conversation is the most important thing. I know a lot of times Steve will say in these kind of circumstances, help them to not make a decisive a decision right now.
Right.
There are so many things ahead of them. Just, those feelings will come and go. But to keep that conversation going, like Chris was talking about. And I just, I applaud you for being vulnerable enough to share with us, but also to share with her. It's the power of the parenting.
And remember, she's seeking intimacy. Intimacy means into me see. She wants somebody to see who she really is, and that's what you can help her achieve.
I feel blessed to have had this opportunity for my needs to be met, connecting with other women who are fighting the same fight, hoping for healthy marriages and growing closer to the Lord on their journey.
My name is Shelly Martinkus, and I want to personally invite you to the Restore Workshop. If you have been affected by betrayal, it might be that your husband has been looking at pornography, it might be an emotional, physical affair. I would love for you to come join us.
I feel encouraged and hopeful that even in my struggle, I am enough.
You will leave with hope, with a community of sisters ready to support you, and you will also leave with tools to move you forward on this journey.
Through the sharing in our small group, I realize that I am not alone.
Please don't hesitate. Pick up the phone, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I would love to see you there.
The Restore Workshop is being held online Saturday, November 14th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in the biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Well, welcome back to New Life Live. This is Ron sitting in for Steve Arterburn, and we have Jan from Seattle, Washington on the internet. How can we help you, Jan?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I'm just having such internal turmoil with relationship with adult children and me, the aging parent, with driving and living alone and having a daughter who has been diagnosed with a debilitating brain disease, and somehow I got categorized like her, like I need to be the one institutionalized, and I've done everything I know to do to conform to everything my children want to lovingly care about me, but they're trying to care for me and run my life. I've given up driving. I've just done everything that they wanted to do, conform to everything that they're asking, and I just don't know how to function. I want to know what kind of questions to ask the counselor I've been referred to.
Well, Jan, let me ask this. I want to ask some clarifying questions now. How old are you?
86.
Okay, and Jan, how long have you lived on your own?
I've been divorced since 76, and so I've raised 9 kids, and have a daughter and grandchildren that have already died, and their father has died, although we were divorced, but there's just been a lot of losses, and
there is a lot of losses the older that we get, and I hear the pain in your voice. Do you have now? You just said that you have an appointment with a counselor, right?
Yes, one that was recommended.
Okay. And then do you have a community outside of the family? I know sometimes when we get older, our community gets pretty small, but do you have neighbors? Tell me a little bit about who you're connected to besides the family.
Well, there's 4 other women my same age that are going through the same thing with their adult children. But I have good connections, church and weekly Bible study, and people to call and talk to. But it's really getting the best of me right now.
It's a lot. It's a lot, Jan. So you said that you have a health issue that you're addressing, right?
No. I don't take any meds. I've been fine my whole life, and I've gone through the gamut of having the in-home health care evaluations, and I just answered all their questions. I've been declared competent. Everything done. I just don't know where to go next. It just seems like there's no connection with any of my children, and they're trying, and I'm trying, and we both want the same thing, but we can't achieve it because we don't know how to communicate.
So that is where I was hoping you were going. I think you were asking about what questions you could ask the counselor. Here's what has to happen. Your children need to go with you to the counselor. There has to be a mediator, somebody who can support both sides of that story. It also sounds, Jan, like you're really scared, and I get that because you've loved these children, you've raised them, you know this is a whole lifetime, and these years are precious. You understand the value of relationships, and you've had some really good relationships. But my suggestion would be that when you speak to the counselor, that at least a couple of the other kids, if they're local, will be going with you, and that the decision isn't made as a result of that, but we're really looking for good conversation. That because a lot of times what happens in these moments is that it all gets to be boiled down to, should you stay or should you go? And there's a lot more conversation that has to come as a result of how many, just the distance that's being created in this dynamic. Chris, what would you say?
Yeah, I totally agree. If your kids can be a part of that counseling, it'd be great. Because, Jan, again, the loss that you're experiencing, and I think loss is cumulative. It builds up over a lifetime, and at 86, you have a lot of loss that you're carrying with you. So each loss, whether it be the loss of driving or whether, the loss of communication, these things, again, just build up. And the grief points to a need. And the need is comfort. Someone to be there with you. Someone, I always say this, Job's friends did phenomenal the first 7 days of Job's tragedy. They shut
7
up.
days.
Yeah, 7 days. Yeah, they didn't say a word. They kept their mouths shut, and they just were present with him in his grief. They got into trouble when they opened their mouths. Jesus, when he enters the Garden of Gethsemane, is facing deep, deep grief. And he asks his 3 closest friends to come with him because he is overwhelmed with sorrow. Jan, I'm actually really impressed because you said exactly what you need. I need connection. We all need connection, but we're not sure how to get it. And that's where we want the counselor to really help you identify how do we restore connection here with a family.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go. And we'll be praying for you, Jan. And it's a difficult conversation, but the counselor's going to be able to help you with that. We're going to send you a copy of 100 Days of Prayer. I think that'll be helpful to you in these days, just encouraging. And, it's tough. And if you have a senior in your life, remember that, they've got a lot of wisdom and they need their voice to be heard as well. It's tricky, I know, but it's a worthwhile talk.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Well, welcome back. Again, happy Veterans Day. You know, this lockdown for this virus has been very detrimental to so many people, but especially the elderly. Mm-hmm. In one of our churches, we had this lady who was 89 years old, and she said she cries herself to sleep every night because nobody comes to see about her. So we started visitations and singing, but people are so isolated, and the impact of that is tremendous. I think you have more to say about that.
Well, I just was talking in the break that there's about 10,000 people who are turning 65 every day.
That's
which
amazing.
Is crazy.
It's incredible.
But I also want you to know that the lockdown, even though we're not completely locked down right now, hopefully we're not by the time this airs. But, that disconnection is so powerful in our lives. And I think it's also, we're also recognizing our own isolation, no matter what your age is. But I do want to encourage you, if you have a loved one that's older, FaceTime, call them, go wave at their window, send a card, do something to connect. And we talk about connection all the time here, and I also want to encourage you that if you want to connect with us at New Life, you can provide for so many ways that we connect through your gifts. And we have Club New Life that you can join, and it's only $30 a month, and we will send you a CD. But we also want you to know it's just the easiest way for you to provide for New Life to continue the ministry as we reach out to so many people. I hear from people all the time that listen. And a matter of fact, I got an email just this morning, and she said, we've been listening for so many years, and it has really changed my life. And that's the reason why I give. It's helped my marriage. It's helped me to launch a marriage group, where she's helping other people. And that's what we love to hear. And so if you will give us a call, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or you can go to newlife.com and make a donation there, or join Club New Life, and just see all the different ways that New Life and your gifts are making a difference in the lives of so many people.
Beautiful.
And the gifts, again, providing for us to do what we do, to show up on the radio, to serve the way that God has allowed us to. Also the scholarshiping. And one of the other things I just wanted to mention today, especially because there is so much detrimental impact to us psychologically and emotionally and relationally and even spiritually as a result of isolation. You know, there's one thing on planet Earth that God said was not good in the beginning, and it was for man to be alone. We have an entire network, a nationwide network of therapists. One thing that COVID and our response has allowed us to do, or maybe even forced us to do as therapists and counselors, is to expand our reach by virtual sessions, whether that be telehealth over the phone or Zoom or whatever. There's all kinds of different programs. So please don't let distance, please don't let being confined to a room, don't let these barriers be a barrier to getting the help that you need today.
Right.
And so give us a call. And Becky, you know this as well, if not better than anyone else. We got that network.
Well, you know, the network is just such a valuable tool for so many people. I also want to just, mention the fact that we have 2 more workshops at the end of this year. One is this Saturday, November 14th, with Restore. It's for women who have experienced betrayal in their lives. And, the workshops, we were able to pivot this year to an all online format, and we've helped so many people through that method, and we've heard great stories as a result of that. So if you are in need of something like Restore, give us a call, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or you can go to newlife.com and click on the workshops and click right there, and you'll be able to register. We also have an incredible workshop coming up December 5th, Brains, Boundaries, Battles, and the Bible. And that pretty much covers it. I think it's going to be the workshop to end all workshops. But people are wondering, what does that mean for me? Well, you're going to hear from Dr. Daniel Amen, who's going to talk about how our brains will impact our daily life and learn some ways that can make a difference in your life. The boundaries, we're going to hear from Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend, who are just an amazing, if you've read Boundaries, or if you haven't read Boundaries, you're going to learn something there. But John's also going to talk just about our team, that team approach where we're building people who are around us to help us do our lives well. We're going to hear from Steve, who's going to talk about the battle for your life. And Sheila Walsh is going to present on biblical wisdom for everyday life and, just how our prayer life makes a difference. And in each of these sessions, we're going to have breakout sessions with our counselors, just like we always do in our workshops. But you don't want to miss this. This workshop will be the great ending for 2020. As you go into 21, you're going to be like, listen, I got this figured out. We're going to have a great year. So call us and get signed up today. It'll make a big difference. But enough about all of that. Let's go back to the calls.
We have Lee from Upper Marlboro, Maryland, WAVA. Lee, how can we help you today?
Yes, good afternoon. I have a question related to whether the use of a belt is a godly method for disciplining a child between the ages of 3 and 5 or 3 and 6. If that is a godly principle, and if so, I'd like to know so I can share it with my with someone who has done that with my great niece.
So, Lee, somebody in your family's already using that as a method?
Well, has used it, yes.
The quick answer is no, it's not godly. And I mean, that's there's 2 separate things here. Discipline is godly. We're to raise our children and discipline them, but discipline doesn't necessarily mean corporal punishment. When you think about a disciplined runner, it's because of the way that they're training, that they, like if you're a long distance runner, you're not going to wake up one day and run 26 miles. There's going to be a bunch of little miles all along the way. And when we're raising our kids, we do have to do age appropriate discipline. But that can be everything from we're not going to have snacks before dinner. We're not going to. Those are ways of disciplining. The belt is there's no godly thing about that, and there's so much damage that has been done for so many years from people who are taking their anger out on their children as opposed to disciplining them. But it's good that you're asking the question. Chris, what would you like to add to that?
It's like, what are we teaching our children with the belt? We're not considering like what is this actually producing? Not just in the moment. We may get a corrective behavior in the moment, but we may have some long-term consequences that far outweigh. A verse I hear often is, spare the rod, spoil the child, and it's actually out of a verse in Proverbs. The rod was not used as a form of corporal punishment. It's a shepherd's staff.
Yes.
Right? It was used as a tap for correction, not a whip, not something that would inflict pain, but just a directive in the dark. It was also used to ward off prey or danger. It was a protective device, not a punishing device. And so what we're trying to do is we are trying to guide our children in the way that they should go. And I just try to encourage myself in all of this because I'm still learning along the way with two small children. But we've got to take the long-term approach, not the short-term approach. And in that, we want to be able to guide our children and think of what are we teaching them that's going to have an impact when they're 20 and how they correct behavior.
Yeah, from the African American community, whipping was traditionally a handed down derivative from that experience. There were parents who would whip their kids before they did anything wrong, so they would be afraid to do anything wrong. So whipping and spanking with belts and tree limbs and ironing cords is a remnant of slavery that still goes on today in the black community. Imagine a parent whooping children before they did anything wrong, so they wouldn't do anything wrong. So we want to unmake and undo that bondage, that generational curse, and know that is not the way to correct. I have boys, and I would use calisthenics and push-ups and sit-ups and leg lifts, and it was very effective. And burpees, up and up to football coach, and that's how we would make correction. But I never put a hand, especially out of anger. You can do damage and hurt someone psychologically and physically. That's child abuse.
Well, and
we don't want to do that.
There's so many resources out there, and in the old adage, when we know better, we do better.
Yes.
But it's important that we learn how to do. We get different. I wish I would have had this conversation with Ron sooner because he would have given me great advice on how to
leg lifts.
But there's so many other creative resources to help guide our children.
Yeah, they said, Dad, when do I stop? When I get tired of watching you.
That's it. We'll be back.
All right.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and so often we hear people saying, I know I need something, but I don't know what it is. Well, we've put together the perfect experience for you. It's called Brains, Boundaries, Battles, and the Bible. You're going to hear Dr. Daniel Amen, Dr. Henry Cloud, Dr. John Townsend, Sheila Walsh, and myself, Steve Arterburn.
In this online workshop, you'll participate in general sessions, then break out into groups. These groups, facilitated by licensed Christian counselors, are where true life change happens. You'll take what you've heard in the main sessions and begin to process the areas of your mind and emotions that have kept you stuck. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Please consider joining us December the 5th for Brains, Boundaries, Battles, and the Bible.
Register today to begin experiencing life in a new way. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of 7 books, including Growth Has No Boundaries by Drs. John Townsend and Henry Cloud, Take Your Life Back by Steve Arterburn and Dr. Dave Stoop, and the Emotional Freedom Workbook. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Well, welcome back and happy Veterans Day. Lee, we want to continue to have dialogue with you because this is such an important issue, especially for my community, the African American community, where spanking was like a rite of passage and getting spanked with anything that was nearby. Belts, electrical cords, trees, throwing a shoe at you. And you know what that does? It teaches a child the way I solve problems is by being violent. That this is how I'm being trained at home, that when I'm frustrated or I can't resolve an issue, not to talk it out, not to find resolution, but to be violent. So violent begets violence. So we want to help you with how now do you communicate these principles to your family so this particular behavior pattern can stop. So we'll start with Becky. What do you think?
So, Lee, how close, well, first of all, how did you discover this? Like, did you observe it or did you talk to her about it? How did this occur?
Well, I actually live with the family.
Okay.
And I live with the family, and I didn't observe it, but I heard what was going on, and there was a sign that it happened.
Okay.
Lee, what happened inside of you when you heard this?
I was very, very upset, and I just said that is not the way to correct a child. That is not the way to get them to listen or be disciplined.
And did you?
It was hurtful. It was painful to me.
Did you have that experience as a child?
Actually, when I grew up, my dad would use a switch. And there were several of us. There were 6 children, and he would use a switch. But I don't remember having to be switched that much. I think I was more compliant than my brothers. So.
Yeah.
Can I ask a real question? Now, did your father make you guys go out and get the switch and take the leaves off? That's traditionally how it was done back in the day.
Yeah, at some point, sometime I do recall that was the case.
Yeah.
But this didn't happen on my family side. This happened on the grandparent of the child on the other side.
Well, one way to communicate is how we are impacted by this. When we make it personal, it tends to have more power. Now, I'm not saying they're going to respond well to it, but when we do it personal, we do it from a place of love as well as solution. You know, so if we empathize, man, I know parenting can be infuriating at times and frustrating, and it can be difficult. And I think there are some other solutions that where everyone benefits from it.
Lee, my question would be, at the point that it happened, did you feel like you could say something? Did you say something? Like what?
Oh, I did. I actually did, and that's why I'm making the call, because
good for you.
I did. We actually had a family meeting. We talked about it, and the grandfather actually said that was the way he was disciplined, as a child, and that it was supposedly worked, but then. The son of the child said, "Well, I remember then, and I'm still angry about it." So, and it's just it's we have to be real about things. We can't just put things under the cover. It doesn't help. So we have to. So the other solution was, well, at the point that may happen, that the child becomes so that you have to discipline the child, that the son would do it. Well, what if the son isn't around? Then what? So, to me, you have to change behavior.
Yes, that's right.
And in order to change behavior, you have to get more information of what we should do.
So, the family dynamics, you got a lot of adults. How many children are there that were all...
2.
Okay. And
two little ones.
Okay, and so how did you all, in that family meeting, which is excellent, how did you all decide how that was all going to, who's disciplining? I think it's, that whole takes a village.
Yes.
And it does, there are generational, but I think that there are different roles that each generation plays as well. What was the final resolution as far as who's going to do what?
Yeah, well, the final resolution, because if the grandfather was not around, was there, and it happened that the child needed to be disciplined, then his son was going to, because he is able to handle it in a different way. So, therefore, it was recommended that the son do it. However, my thought was, well, what if the son isn't around? And it escalates to a point where the child is then rather, out of control, but still, that's just not the way to do it. So
the hard part is
to say,
the hard part is parenting is hard. Period. Like that's just there's a long game involved. I love that there are a lot of generations that are invested in this child. That's a good thing.
Yes.
I think,
and I'm a great aunt.
That's awesome. I think I do. I think it's just amazing because usually what we hear is, I have a child, but there's no other family. Right. And so we love that part of it. I think it might be helpful for you to let them listen to what Ron and Chris said about this. You can play back the program and just say, well, I called the show and this is what they said. I think also that, with the discipline when dad is gone, we can always remember the wait till your father gets home line. Yes. But we don't want to make dad the bad guy all the time either. That's so we've got to come up with a better plan to address whatever the need is that the child has.
The other issue too is understand.
Okay.
Is understand the legalities of this as well.
Yes.
In certain cities and states, that is considered child abuse.
Right.
And if a child calls someone, either at school or calls the principal, I'm being beat at home, they can come and do an investigation and could potentially take that child away. So it's not just immoral, not effective. It has a long-term effect that's negative. It can also be illegal in a criminal act depending upon where you live. And in most cases, corporal punishment at home is considered child abuse.
You were saying that it's the grandfather, but you mentioned what to do when the dad of the child isn't at home. So that's why I was making that clarification that you got to come up with a plan B. Chris, do you want to add anything else?
I just want to say, so Lee, we got to put a plan in place and get everyone on the same page. And I think you're sitting on great resources as a family because you've come together as a family. You've addressed it as a family. And it seems like everyone's receptive to each other, which is great. I want everyone to go through the book, How We Love Our Children.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay? Everyone get on the same page here, because here's what's actually going to happen, Lee, is that you guys are going to learn how to love each other better. And you're going to learn how to communicate and use those feeling words and emotional words. And then we'll look at some resources on then how do we structure these children's lives in a way where when they go out of bounds, we get them back in bounds with boundaries that are effective, much like Ron said, hey, I use calisthenics, so it's a win-win. It feels like punishment, but they're actually benefiting from it by getting some exercise in it.
Well, I'd also add that the grandfather's doing this, he said, because it was done to him.
Yes,
well, guess what? He's still mad about it. And I don't know how old he is, but so what we're talking about is creating this anger that doesn't get settled down. I would want for the grandfather to be a loving place to land where there's wisdom and there's acceptance, but there is godly character. And I would want to encourage grandfather to take that role. And I think it'll make all the difference.
As we close this Veterans Day, one of the most beautiful ceremonies that happens in the military is when bones are brought back from foreign soil. Because one of the promises is nobody gets left behind. And to see them bring someone who's lost in war, and bring them back, and tears flow and said, we kept our promise, and you are not left behind either.
We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Thanks for watching New Life Live on our New Life YouTube channel. You know, you can see it anytime. Hope you'll subscribe, and when you do, hope you'll turn that little button thing on, the bell, so that whenever we post a new video, it'll ring right through. Now, if you go to newlife.com, you'll see the schedule of when we're in the studio, which is helpful to know if you have a question for the program, or you could go to newlife.com or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You could do this on the app. I mean, there's so many ways that you can stay in touch with us and know when we're there, because we want to answer your questions. So thanks for watching right here on the New Life YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time. Click here to subscribe.